Sarah sat looking at her 1-year-old. He was a handful, overly energetic, and had more life in him than an entire hockey team. She remembers vividly when she was pregnant with him. She even remembers finding out she was pregnant with him. Her looking at her pregnancy kit confused. It showed she was pregnant. She couldn't believe it. She sat on the toilet, lost. And the only question in her mind was, how did this happen? And now, here he was. She now has more questions like, what are the factors in the different stages of her being pregnant with him that molded her son into this beautiful creature that cannot sit down for 1 second? In this video, we provide answers to the questions. We look at the several stages of a woman's pregnancy and how each stage affects what a child might be like. Before we proceed, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more fascinating content about the science of the mind and body. Let's dive in. Conception, the spark of life. Conception is the first stage of pregnancy, and it takes place when a sperm cell from the man fertilizes an egg cell from the mom. The series of activities that leads up to conception is wild and varied. But, summarily, it is often a story of man meets woman, and they go on a date or not. Probably they get married and decide to have a child. This scenario can play out in 1,000 ways, but it often ends up in sex happening. During sex, the man ejaculates into the woman, releasing millions of sperm cells, from which only one gets to fertilize a single cell that the woman produces once in a month. This encounter results in the formation of a single cell known as a zygote. The zygote is the fertilized egg cell that results from the union of a female gamete, also called egg, or ovum with a male gamete, also called sperm. This is the very first stage of new human lifestyles, and also the first stage of pregnancy in a woman. However, both partners do not realize that by choosing each other and deciding to procreate, they have unwittingly chosen the potential half of all that determines what that child will be like. This moment is more than just the start of life. It is the beginning of genetic inheritance, where half of the baby's DNA comes from each parent. The next stage is called implantation. Implantation, nesting within the womb. After fertilization, the zygote travels down the fallopian tube and implants itself into the liner of the uterus. This procedure, called implantation, usually happens around 6 to 10 days after conception. This process is amazing, and you might be wondering, how does the zygote know to make this journey? Well, a combination of biological signals, mechanical processes, and chemical cues influences the movement of the zygote. First, the hormonal environment of the female reproductive system plays a crucial role in influencing the behavior of the zygote. The levels of the estrogen and progesterone hormones, which fluctuate during the menstrual cycle, help prepare the lining of the uterus for the transport of the zygote. Secondly, the inner lining of the fallopian tubes is covered with tiny hair-like structures called cilia that beat in a coordinated manner, creating a current that gently pushes the zygote toward the uterus. The movement of the zygote is also aided by the contractions of the smooth muscle in the walls of the fallopian tubes. Also, the cells of the zygote and the lining of the fallopian tube and uterus communicate through chemical signals which help guide the zygote to the optimal location for implantation. Upon reaching the uterus, the zygote begins to broaden, drawing nourishment from the mom's body and forming the muse for the child's future boom. At this stage, the nourishment from the mom's body, which is essentially all she ingests from food to drink, and her hormonal levels, all what contributes to which genes are activated in the developing cells of the embryo. For example, maternal stress can lead to higher levels of cortisol, which can shape the child's stress response later in life. This process of activation and formatting takes place throughout the pregnancy, which is divided into 3 trimesters. Third trimester, weeks 1 to 12, the blueprint of life. The first trimester is a period of rapid cellular differentiation. The embryo begins forming major organs, including the brain, heart, and lungs. Every single cell is specialized based on genetic instructions and epigenetic modifications. The hormonal shifts in the mother's body can influence fetal development in profound ways. If the mother experiences high stress, poor nutrition, or exposure to toxins, the fetus may adapt by altering its genetic expression, sometimes in ways that increase the risk of health issues later in life. For example, inadequate nutrition can lead to a metabolic adjustment that predisposes the child to obesity or diabetes in adulthood. In essence, a child being obese can sometimes be a feature that was activated in it when it was in the womb. Same goes for a cranky child or a superactive child, as is the case for Sarah's 1-year-old kid. Fourth, second trimester, weeks 13 to 27, the growth phase. By the second trimester, the fetus is rapidly growing, and its developing senses begin responding to external stimuli. This is when epigenetic factors become even more pronounced. The baby's brain starts forming neural pathways, influenced by the mother's experiences. If the mother is exposed to consistent positive stimuli, such as soothing music or a calm environment, it can positively impact fetal brain development. Additionally, the immune system starts forming, and exposure to different maternal antibodies helps shape the child's ability to fight diseases after birth. The genetic instructions for these processes are already present, but the womb environment fine-tunes how they unfold. Fifth, third trimester, weeks 28 to birth, final preparations. The third trimester is a period of rapid brain and lung development. The fetus is now capable of responding to light and sound, and its brain forms millions of neural connections every day. Epigenetics continues to play a role. The maternal diet, emotional state, and environmental exposure can affect the child's likelihood of developing allergies, cognitive strengths, or even personality traits. For instance, chronic maternal stress can alter the baby's brain chemistry, potentially increasing the risk of anxiety disorders later in life. As the baby grows, it prepares for birth by moving into a head-down position. This is when the finishing touches are placed on its genetic blueprint before entering the world. 6. Labor and birth, the grand finale. Labor and birth happens usually around the 9th month after contraception, and it is the last stage of pregnancy. This stage is initiated by contractions, which leads to labor and finally birth. Labor occurs in 3 stages. The first stage is early labor, characterized by mild, irregular contractions and may last for several hours or even days. The cervix gradually dilates and effaces, thins out. This is the first phase of early labor. It progresses to the active phase, which is characterized by contractions become more regular, stronger, and more frequent, usually every 3 to 5 minutes. More rapid cervical dilation of up to about 7 centimeters. The second phase of labor is the transition phase, which is the most intense phase of labor, with contractions occurring every 2 to 3 minutes and lasting about 60 to 90 seconds. The cervix completes dilation, up to 10 centimeters. The second stage of labor is pushing and delivery. At this stage, contractions continue to be strong and frequent. This helps to push the baby down the birth canal. The mother experiences an urge to push, and with each contraction, the baby is gradually moved toward and through the vaginal opening. The final and third stage is the delivery of the baby and then the placenta. After the baby is born, contractions continue at a reduced intensity to help expel the placenta from the uterus. After birth, the mother and child bond, and the child starts off evolve to alter to lifestyles outside of the doors of the womb. Witnessing this miracle of new lifestyles is a profound revelation that marks the culmination of the exceptional adventure of being pregnant. And along the line, she would begin to observe the unique and dominant traits of her child, all thanks to everything that had happened from conception till when it was born. Understanding the 6 stages of pregnancy provides deeper insight into how life develops at the genetic and epigenetic levels. Every moment in the womb shapes the foundation of a child's future. Physically, emotionally, and even psychologically. While genes provide the blueprint, the mother's body acts as the architect, influencing which traits are emphasized and which are subdued. Pregnancy is not just about growth, it is about the delicate interplay between biology and environment, a dance that ultimately determines who we become. This miraculous 9-month journey leads to the ultimate gift of life, a moment that forever changes both mother and father. For more deep dives into the science of the mind and body, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.